In this video, we're going to learn how to determine if lines are parallel based off given information. So, let's recall that we already learned that if two lines are parallel, are intersected by a transversal, then we know that alternate interior, alternate exterior, and corresponding angles are all congruent. So remember conditional statements. This is an example of one. So all those things are all congruent, meaning alternate interior, alternate exterior, and corresponding angles on the condition that the lines are parallel. So if you know lines are parallel and they're intersected by a transversal, then all those types of angles are congruent. Now, let's think of the converse. Well, the converse is when you switch the hypothesis and the conclusion, and that is also true. So let's say you don't know the lines are parallel, but you know that when the transversal intersects the lines, then corresponding angles are congruent, or alternate interior angles are congruent, or alternate exterior angles are congruent, then you can assume that the lines are parallel. So the converse is also true. So again, if lines are parallel, you know all those special angles are congruent, and if all those special angles are congruent, then you know the lines are parallel. So let's try a couple simple examples. We'll do more complicated ones in class, but if you know these two examples, by the time we get to class, you'll be in good shape. So, based off the given information, are these lines parallel? Well, we have two what looks like consecutive exterior angles, and we never studied those, so we don't know anything about those. But if we look at the picture, we can use what we know about linear pairs to say that this angle right here is 145 degrees, because it must add up to 35 to get equal to 180. So now we see that these corresponding angles are congruent, and that's enough to show that these lines are parallel. So yes, based off the converse, these lines are parallel. Let's look at one more example. And again, we have two angles which don't have any special relationship, but there's a couple ways we could go about this. We could check the corresponding angles. We could check and see if they're congruent. We could check alternate interior angles, see if they're congruent. Check alternate exterior, see if they're congruent. Or even check consecutive interior angles and see if they add up to 180. So it doesn't matter. Let's try them all actually. Well, based off what we know about linear pairs, we know that this angle, oops, made a mistake, this angle right here is 77 degrees. So, since the alternate interior angles, since the corresponding angles of 67 degrees and 77 degrees are not equal, then we know that these lines are not parallel. Alright, you could have also said that this angle right here is 67, so since consecutive interior angles are not supplementary, that's another reason why they're not parallel. You could have said that this angle right here is 77 degrees, so alternate exterior angles are not congruent. If you could just show that either of the special angle relationships are true, then you know the lines are parallel. And likewise, if you could show that one of them is not true, like for example, like we did right here, that corresponding angles were not congruent, then that's enough to show that lines are not parallel. I believe this is the end of the video. Yes, it is. So I hope you learned something, and have a good one.